Imagine a night steeped in fear, a small boat tossed violently on the raging Sea of Galilee. The wind howls, the waves crash, threatening to swallow everything whole. Inside, a group of men, hardened fishermen among them, are paralyzed with terror. They have seen storms before, but this one feels different, a monstrous entity intent on their destruction. Then, through the driving rain and the mist of the tumultuous waters, they see a figure approaching. He's walking on the very surface of the sea, defying every law of nature they know. Is it a ghost? Their hearts pound, their terror amplifies, and a collective scream rips through the night. This dramatic scene, recounted in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and John, often focuses on the awe-inspiring physical feat, Jesus walking on water. And indeed, it was a profound demonstration of divine power. But what if the true miracle of that night was not about Jesus' feet on the waves, but about his words in the wind? What if the most powerful, life-altering moment was not what the disciples saw, but what they heard? This video will delve into that harrowing night and propose a profound idea. The most impactful miracle was not physical, but spoken. A truth that still echoes with transformative power for our lives today. We will explore how Jesus' words, in the midst of chaos, reveal his true identity, his perfect timing, and his unwavering invitation to a deeper faith. The setting for this extraordinary encounter is crucial, a tempest on the Sea of Galilee. This was no gentle breeze or passing shower. It was a violent storm, whipping the lake into a frenzy, filling the disciples with genuine terror. They were far from shore, straining against the oars, making little headway. The narrative tells us they were straining at the oars, for the wind was against them. This was not just a physical struggle, but a spiritual crucible. The storm becomes more than a meteorological event. It is a profound metaphor for the trials and tribulations that inevitably surge into our own lives. Consider the disciples in that moment. They had witnessed Jesus perform countless miracles. They had seen him heal the sick, cast out demons, and just hours before, feed 5,000 people with a few loaves and fish. Yet in the face of this immediate, life-threatening danger, their past experiences seemed to fade. Their faith, which had been so evident in moments of blessing, was now eclipsed by raw primal fear. This is a common human experience. It is easy to trust God when the sun shines and the waters are calm. But when the winds rise, when life throws unexpected storms, our true spiritual standing is measured. Fear has a cunning way of clouding our perception. It distorts reality, magnifies threats, and whispers lies about God's absence or indifference. In that boat, the disciples saw only the storm. They did not see the sovereign hand that allowed the storm. They did not hear the promise of God's presence. They were consumed by their circumstances. Jesus does not always prevent storms from coming into our lives. Sometimes he allows them, not to destroy us, but to expose the hidden places of our hearts, to show us where our trust truly lies, and to invite us into a deeper reliance on his power, not our own. The storm became a classroom, a harsh but necessary environment designed to test and ultimately strengthen their faith. Just as our own storms serve a similar purpose, revealing what we truly believe when everything around us feels like it is falling apart. The disciples are consumed by fear, battling the raging storm when they see Jesus walking on the water. They cry out, convinced it is a ghost. In that moment of utter terror and confusion, a voice cuts through the wind and waves, clear and authoritative. Jesus speaks two simple, yet profoundly powerful phrases. Take courage. It is I, do not be afraid. These words, more than the astounding visual of him walking on water, are what truly calm the situation. Let us dwell on the phrase, it is I. In the Greek, this is ego eimi, which holds immense theological depth. It is an echo of the divine name revealed in the Old Testament. When Moses stood before the burning bush and asked God his name, God replied, I am who I am. This was not merely a description. It was a declaration of eternal, self-existent being. In saying, "It is I," Jesus was not just identifying himself as their familiar teacher. He was revealing his divine nature. He was saying, "I am the great I am." The God who spoke creation into existence, the God who delivered Israel from Egypt, the God who is sovereign over all. This is crucial. Jesus was not simply calming their nerves with a soothing tone. He was revealing himself as God, the one who holds all power and authority, even over the most violent forces of nature. His voice, laden with the weight of his divine identity, was the true balm for their terrified souls. When the Creator speaks, chaos must listen. When the I Am declares his presence, fear must recede. It was not the sight of his feet on the water that quieted their spirits, but the sound of his voice, proclaiming his identity and commanding peace. This reveals a central truth. Our deepest peace comes not from the absence of storms, but from the presence of the one who is I Am in the midst of them. It is his voice, speaking into our fears, that brings true calm and assurance. In the midst of the storm, after Jesus declares, "It is I, do not be afraid," Peter, with characteristic impulsiveness and a flicker of extraordinary faith, speaks up. "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And Jesus simply says, "Come." What happens next is one of the most powerful and relatable moments in the Gospels. Peter steps out of the boat, and for a few steps, he walks on water towards Jesus. This moment is a vivid illustration of the spiritual journey of many believers. It embodies both the beauty of audacious faith and the tragedy of wavering trust. Jesus' invitation, "Come," is not just for Peter. It is an invitation extended to all of us to step out of our perceived safety and walk with him into the impossible. It speaks to the truth that faith begins precisely where fear is challenged, where we are called beyond our comfort zones and into radical dependence on Christ. Peter's ability to walk on water was not due to his own strength or balance, but to the command and presence of Jesus. His words empowered Peter to defy gravity. However, the story also highlights Peter's subsequent fear. When he looked at the wind and the waves, he became afraid and began to sink. His focus shifted from the word of Jesus to the chaotic circumstances around him. This mirrors our own spiritual battles. We may take bold steps of faith, but if we lose sight of the one who called us, if our gaze shifts from Jesus to our problems, fear can quickly overwhelm us. Yet, even in his sinking, Peter cried out, "Lord, save me." And Jesus immediately reached out his hand and caught him. This is the beauty and grace of Christ. Even when our faith falters, his presence is unwavering. He does not abandon us in our sinking, he reaches out. This segment is rich with spiritual application about trust, the willingness to take risks for God, and the sustaining power of divine presence even when our courage fails. It challenges us to ask, what is Jesus calling me to step out of, and am I willing to fix my eyes on his word, even when the storm rages? One of the haunting questions that arises from this narrative is, why did Jesus let them struggle for so long? The disciples had been toiling against the wind and waves for hours, from the evening until the fourth watch of the night, which was between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. They were exhausted, terrified, and making no progress. Why did Jesus, who knew their predicament, allow them to endure such prolonged distress before he appeared? This seemingly delayed arrival offers profound comfort and insight to those who feel abandoned by God in their own long, arduous struggles. It feels like God is silent, that he is not seeing our pain, that he is not intervening. But divine timing, though it often appears delayed from our limited perspective, is always perfect. Jesus was not absent. He was on the mountain praying, and he saw their struggle. He was aware of every wave that crashed against their boat, every ounce of strength they expended. His waiting was not indifference. His arrival in the fourth watch of the night carries deep symbolic and prophetic meaning. The fourth watch was the darkest part of the night, just before dawn. It was the point of deepest exhaustion and least hope. Jesus often appears at the point of utter human helplessness, when we have exhausted all our own resources. This timing serves to highlight his supernatural power and his divine ability to bring light into the deepest darkness. It ensures that when he does arrive, his intervention is unmistakably from him, not a result of our own efforts finally paying off. His silence does not mean absence. It often means he is preparing the stage for a revelation of his power that will leave no doubt about his sovereignty and his care. For us, this means that even when God seems distant, even when our prayers feel unanswered, he is watching, he is aware, and he will arrive at the perfect moment to reveal his glory in our situation. His timing is not arbitrary. It is meticulously orchestrated for our greatest good and for his greatest glory. After Peter begins to sink and Jesus pulls him back into the boat, the wind ceases. The storm, which had raged with such ferocity, instantly becomes still. This is not just a coincidence. It is a direct result of Jesus' presence and his ultimate authority. The narrative emphasizes that the wind ceased. It was not a gradual calming, but an immediate cessation, a demonstration of absolute power. This particular event is not an isolated incident in the Gospels. We see Jesus demonstrating the authority of his voice repeatedly. Earlier, in a different storm on the Sea of Galilee, Jesus was asleep in the boat when his terrified disciples woke him. He simply rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. In other instances, Jesus casts out demons with a mere word. "Come out of him, you impure spirit." And the evil spirits obey instantly. He heals the sick with a command, "Stretch out your hand," and the hand is restored. These examples magnify the incredible authority of Jesus' voice. It is not merely persuasive or comforting. It carries transformative power. When he speaks, reality bends to his will. Natural laws submit. Spiritual forces tremble. Even the chaotic forces of nature must listen and obey. This drives home a profound truth for us. God's voice carries absolute authority. It is the voice that spoke the universe into existence. It is the voice that promises redemption and restoration. It is the voice that can speak peace into our most turbulent circumstances. The challenge for us, then, is to listen for that voice in our own storms, to prioritize his words above the noise of our fears, the demands of the world, and the clamor of our anxieties. Because when he speaks, even the most violent storms in our lives must ultimately submit to his command. Throughout this story, the boat represents security, the known, the controlled environment. For the disciples, it was their safe haven, their familiar territory. It was where they felt protected from the dangers of the open sea. Yet, Jesus called Peter out of that boat. He invited him into the seemingly impossible, onto the very surface of the storm-tossed water. This challenges a fundamental human mindset, the tendency to cling to what is comfortable and secure, even when God is calling us to something greater. True transformation often requires stepping out in obedience, leaving the perceived safety of our boats. This could be a secure job that stifles our calling, a comfortable routine that prevents spiritual growth, or even familiar patterns of thinking that limit our understanding of God's power. The boat, while it provides temporary safety, can also become a cage, preventing us from experiencing the miraculous in deeper ways. It can keep us from discovering the full measure of our faith and the immense power of Jesus' word. This segment contrasts temporary safety with eternal purpose. Are we settling for mere security when we are called to glory, to a life of radical trust and divine partnership? We must examine what boats we may be clinging to. What familiar structures or mindsets prevent us from fully trusting Jesus and stepping into the extraordinary? The call to step out is not reckless. It is an invitation to a deeper intimacy with Christ, a journey where his voice becomes our guide and his power our only true security. It reminds us that our greatest safety is not found in avoiding risk, but in trusting the one who commands the waves, regardless of whether we are in the boat or walking on the water with him. After Jesus enters the boat, the storm ceases completely. The disciples, witnessing this undeniable display of divine power and authority, react with a profound act of worship. The Gospel accounts tell us they were utterly astonished and worshipped Him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." This moment signifies a monumental transformation in their understanding, not just of Jesus' capabilities, but of His very identity. Storms often lead to revelation. It is in the crucible of difficulty, when our own strength is depleted and our resources exhausted, that we often encounter God in a new and deeper way. The terror they experienced, followed by the immediate calm and the recognition of Jesus' divine presence, shifted their perspective entirely. Their worship was not a casual acknowledgement, but a heartfelt, awestruck response to finally seeing who He really is. This powerful moment demonstrates that pain often precedes praise, and that breakthrough often follows profound struggle. The power of post-trial worship is a central theme here. When we emerge from our own storms, having seen Jesus intervene, worship becomes the only authentic response. It is a worship born not of convenience, but of conviction. A worship that acknowledges His sovereignty, His faithfulness, and His identity as the Son of God. This worship deepens our relationship with Him, solidifying our understanding of His character and empowering us to face future challenges with greater assurance. It reminds us that the purpose of our trials is not just to overcome them, but to emerge from them with a clearer, more profound vision of who Jesus is, leading us into a life of perpetual adoration. The events on the Sea of Galilee, Jesus walking on water, calming the storm, and Peter stepping out of the boat, were never just a spectacle. They were not merely a display of power for power's sake. At their core, these miracles were a profound message, a divine communication directly to the hearts of the disciples, and by extension, to every one of us. Jesus was not showing off. He was showing something. He was revealing the nature of His identity and the unwavering reliability of His word, especially in our darkest hours. The true miracle was not the physical phenomenon, but the spiritual truth it conveyed, that Jesus' words carry the authority to transform our deepest fears, to command our most chaotic circumstances, and to invite us into a life of faith that transcends human limitations. The water was just the canvas. His words were the masterpiece. This entire account serves as an emotional and spiritual climax, speaking directly to the viewer's heart. It calls us into a deeper intimacy with the one who speaks peace into chaos. It reminds us that whatever storms we face, whatever fears grip us, whatever impossible situations lie before us, His word can be trusted. His "It is I" is a declaration that brings calm to our souls. His "Come" is an invitation to a life of extraordinary faith. His presence in our fourth watch is a guarantee that we are never abandoned. The miracle was always about you, about your trust in His word, about your willingness to step out, and about your experience of His transformative power. It is about embracing the truth that the same voice that stilled the storm on Galilee can speak peace into your life today, offering not just a temporary reprieve from trouble, but an eternal anchor for your soul. If this message spoke to your heart, I invite you to take a moment to support this channel. Please hit the like button. It lets us know that this content is touching lives. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos filled with encouragement, spiritual insight, and divine perspective. Leave a comment below, share what part of the prayer impacted you the most, or let us know how God is speaking to you through this journey. And finally, share this video with someone close to you, a friend, a family member, someone who needs to hear a word from God today. Together, we can help more people experience the depth of God's love through His word. Thank you for watching. May His kingdom come and His will be done in your life, just as it is in heaven.